Hey, it's Jeff W. Welsh. Welcome to the Hardcore Happiness Podcast, where we talk about the art and science of how to create your best life. Expect to discuss mindset and purpose, the positive and the profound, and anything else that contributes to the healthiest, happiest, most successful life you can imagine. This is your sanctuary against fear-mongering and propaganda, the place to focus on a life of well-being and satisfaction and transform your world. I'm Jeff W. Welsh, and this is Hardcore Happiness. From the mountains of the great American Southwest, I bid you welcome to the latest episode of the Hardcore Happiness Podcast. Let's just get it over with. Let's think the unthinkable and let's speak the unspeakable. You are afraid. I am afraid. Everybody is afraid. If you don't think you're afraid, it's probably because fear has become your baseline. If you were a goldfish, fear would be the water in which you swim. To really understand fear, that most primitive of protective reflexes, we have to have some idea of what it is we value. What do we love? Do you value your life? Are you afraid of death? It is relatively rare, but there really are people who are not afraid to die. You probably are not one of them. Do you value being pain-free? How about your mobility, your ability to travel, your ability to walk? How about your sanity, your independence? How about this? Do you have children, parents, a spouse, or some significant other? Even if you aren't personally afraid, it wouldn't take much morbid imagination, especially from someone like me who spent many years in emergency medicine, to conjure up a scenario that is truly terrifying. We're all afraid of something. And that's just the showstopper high-level stuff. Do you value your job, your career, your paycheck? How about your home and your car and your ability to buy food? Let's get more mundane, more low-level. How important is your dignity, your reputation, your family name? How much do you value your online status and your followers, if you have any? How about your children's privacy? Maybe what you really value is your toys, your cars and planes and electronics. How about the ability to connect to the internet at all? We all love something. We all have something that is important to us. And once you have an understanding of what it is you love, what it is you value, you can start to delineate the fears that are associated with the attachment. Because what we worry about, what we fear, is losing the thing that we value. This would be a great place to segue into a strict Theravada Buddhist doctrine of non-attachment, and how attachment to things and people, even to life, is the root of suffering. But I'm not a bodhisattva or even a practicing Buddhist, although I do value and try to follow a lot of the underlying principles. And B, this article is not about near Bodhi tree enlightenment experiences. Are you afraid of making mistakes? Everybody is. And everybody does make mistakes, that is. It's the fear of public speaking, of raising your hand in class, of performing. What if I choke? The loss here is the loss of looking perfect, the danger of losing your false dignity. One time I had a very famous musician, you would know this guy's name instantly, play a set at a venue I owned in San Diego. The packed house was excited because he was going to play a new song, which went on to be a massive hit for years, in public for the first time. In the middle of the second verse, he stopped, looked into the standing room only audience, and said, "I forgot the effing words." And nobody cared. The audience laughed and clapped. The singer started over and performed the song, and his status, dignity, and reputation remained intact. The phrase imperfect human is redundant. Of course, we fear losing our life, our loved ones, our health, our dignity, our ability to earn compensation. With AI around the corner or here already, there's a lot of people worried about that. These worries are normal, and in any case, they're unavoidable. But if they're left unchecked, they can wreak havoc with your mindset and they can trash your peace. Fear is a survival mechanism. The sudden shock of fear that you feel is part of an activation of your sympathetic fight or flight nervous system. That reaction bestows upon us an almost superhuman ability as it shunts blood to skeletal muscle. It increases your heart's ability to supply oxygenated blood to vital systems while you are fighting or running. It frees up glucagon from your liver for energy. It dilates your pupils and your airways. It sharpens your senses. Let's imagine that you're home alone. You're in your bedroom. It's the end of the night. You're reading your book. And suddenly you hear someone come in your front room. Fear at that point is a normal part of your instinct to protect yourself. That's a normal thing. You don't want to get rid of that. That will help you do whatever comes next. But when the impulse to run away or enter battle, your fight or flight, stays past the immediate threat, or starts to become tied to small, non-life-threatening events, just the irritations of daily life, fight or flight can quickly turn into resignation and depression. And this would be a great place to segue into a discussion of Hans Selye's general adaptation syndrome, which normally is referred to as GAS, yes, gas. But that is a psychophysiological story for another time. I'll tell it though, because it's fascinating, but not right now. When your fear manifests as unceasing anxiety, your protective mechanisms have gone awry. And let me just get on my soapbox for a second. Don't get me started on generalized anxiety disorder. I was trained on diagnosis with the DSM like every clinical psychologist, but I have a very different take on F41.1 that is completely irrelevant to the discussion at hand. When I feel like making some waves, you'll hear about it. So everybody has fear. Sometimes it's normal and beneficial. Sometimes it's crippling. The question is, what do you do about it? The cure depends upon the source. If you're like the vast majority of the internet-connected world, which, by the way, is about 68% of the global population right now, which is about 5.5 billion people, nearly 100% of the first world populations is connected, then a great deal of your fear creates a great deal of wealth for the media, social and otherwise. Fear-mongering is big business. You want people to spend their money? Give them something to fear. It didn't take long after the June 1st, 1980 advent of the 24-hour news cycle for marketers to realize that scared people spend money. Did you ever tour the original CNN headquarters building in Atlanta? It's very impressive. It was very impressive. It's gone now. So, I digress, but what is the answer to this most prevalent source of anxiety and fear? The constant news cycle, the constant battering on social media. It's all anybody talks about. It is designed to marinate you in fear. They want to keep you afraid all the time. Who are they? The people who make money off sending you cures. Here's what you do. Turn it off. Seriously, just turn it off. Go outside, have lunch with a friend who also has turned off his or her electronics and doesn't want to talk about how the sky is falling. The media's only hold on you is your frantic craving for cheap dopamine hits. You're scrolling and you're watching and your OMG moments. Just stop. So what about your other fears? Fears that are more real. Loss of your job. Maybe loss of your house and car, loss of your parents. That's inevitable for us. How about loss of your prestige? How about fear of losing your Tesla and your Rolex? Or maybe your bicycle and your Timex? Look, I can't promise that nothing bad will ever happen to you, but I can promise you this. You have survived every bad thing that has ever happened to you. Think about that for a second. You're still here. If you're watching this podcast and you're not here, please get in contact with me. Fear is just wasting energy worrying about things that probably will never happen and are most likely out of your control anyway. That energy could put to way better use, like experiencing joy right now in your real life, or choosing and pursuing a new, exciting life purpose. The way to balance out bad stuff, which is sure to happen, is to make sure that you experience lots of good stuff. The trick to all this is in gaining resilience. It's easy to realize that you have to bounce back after there's a setback, but it's difficult to actually do it. If you get enough setbacks, not only is the cockiness of youth knocked out of you, but your self-esteem can be knocked out of you as well. You have to be humble enough to realize that you're going to make mistakes and you're going to fail. Some people will never forgive you for that. Well, guess what? Those people weren't your people anyway. That's not your tribe. Everybody makes mistakes, even the people who were judging you for yours. Keep that in mind. Two things to think about here while I'm on the subject. Number one, nobody really is paying attention to you. If you're foolhardy enough to do this and stick your face on a camera and try to get it in front of as many people as possible, you're going to have haters. Haters going to hate, as they say. But ignore that. Because number one, nobody really is listening to you unless they really like what you're saying or they're just trying to stir up trouble. And number two, you have to be able to just move past it if there is serious criticism. You have to be strong enough to realize that the only way to move forward is to have the strength to push through it. Start over. As the old adage says, fall down 7 times, get up 8. So my advice, my lived experience, and trust me, I've had more than my fair share of failure and lots of other crappy stuff, is this. Feel the fear and do it anyway. In the end, there's only 2 kinds of experiences, wins and lessons. I've said this before, no matter what happens, you're either going to crush it and do what it is you set out to do, or you'll go, well, that didn't work, and then if you're smart, you'll learn how to get better. Here's an interesting fact that just popped into my brain. It is said that the most often repeated phrase in the Bible is, be not afraid, or do not fear, or some version of that. I haven't personally counted, but that's widely reported, so I'm going to have to believe it's true. Fear is always present when you try something new. Don't let that stop you. You have to push through it to break the new ground you say you want. So here's what you do. Do it scared. Do it now. Do it even if it's not perfect. Here's a hint. It will never be perfect. Turns out that famous historical Rough Rider Teddy Roosevelt was right. Really, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. And remember this, everything you want is on the other side of fear. That sounds too much like a cliche. Let me say it again. I'm serious. Listen to this. Everything you want is on the other side of fear. Fear is what's stopping you. Fear is what's making you procrastinate. Fear is what you have going on that you think is imposter syndrome. It's the reason that you do something else instead of this. It's the reason that you know you've got a deadline, but you decide to doom scroll until 3 a.m. anyway. That's all fear, my friends. Get over it. Listen, you've got this. We've got this. I'm right there with you in this whole thing. The Hardcore Happiness Podcast is live every week in video form on YouTube and in audio form wherever it is you listen to your podcasts. Visit the podcast page at jeffwwelsh.studio where you can see past episodes and listen to the latest one. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Check out the links page on jeffwwelsh.com if you want to contact me or if you're interested in having me speak to your organization. You can subscribe to my work on the Hardcore Happiness blog page and the Jeff W. Welsh Substack and or Medium accounts, and you can follow my accounts on Instagram and X. Thanks for watching. I'm Dr. Jeff W. Welsh.